Hi guys, this is Jack from the Beard Network here, and this is what I like to call the All-Star Addendum. What are we doing here? Well, a few days ago, PlayStation All-Stars was updated to version 1.09, and while previous updates tweaked maybe one or two characters, this update has altered every single character in the game. Some characters have been changed more than others, some have been buffed, some have been nerfed, some combos are no longer possible, some strategies are no longer viable, etc, etc. So it's kind of difficult to ignore a patch that has changed the game this much, so I decided to devote a quick video to going over the characters that we've already covered and seeing what's changed the most about them. So we're just going to go through them in order. I've got the attack display up in the top right corner, so you can see that I'm not making the AP values up as I go along. And we're going to go all the way back to All-Star Guide number 1 with Sweet Tooth. Now, those of you who main Sweet Tooth, and I know there are a couple of you, will be pleased to hear that he has been significantly improved. Almost all the changes that have been made to him are for the better. The most significant tweak has been made to his neutral triangle, the chainsaw, which you see here. Now, this previously gained just 8 AP on the ground and would only eject opponents in front of you. But now it yields 30 AP, and any opponent that is struck behind you will be ejected as well. And you can see that the entire combo yields 30 AP up in the top corner there. And even though the opponent is behind me, he's being ejected. So, another slightly more subtle change is that you can now direct Sweet Tooth with the left analog stick while using this move as well. You see him moving slightly to the right there. And if we strike him from behind again, move slightly to the left. But this is a very welcome tweak overall, in my opinion. Helps improve a incredibly weak move and helps to bolster Sweet Tooth's arsenal a bit more, which for a character that doesn't rely on combos is quite helpful. Second big change. Previously when you used up and triangle, which is the machete toss, that there, the machete would disappear after a successful hit. Now it will continue through opponents and only disappear when it reaches the ground. So I'm just going to set up something here. So here we have another dummy here for us. Let's see if I can line this up correctly. And if we press up and triangle now, try that again. So you see there, it struck both Sly and Kratos. So the big change here is it's now possible to hit multiple opponents with this move. Other than that, it remains unchanged. 10 AP for the first hit and 3 AP for subsequent hits, I think. That seems about right. So yeah, subtle change, but another welcome one. We'll just get rid of Sly. Thank you, sir. A couple of changes have also been made to Sweet Tooth Supers. You may recall that I labelled Sweet Tooth's level 2 as the worst of its class. And that still stands, but it has been improved a little bit. I'll just ready it in here. So we activate it now. So basically the blast radius has been slightly increased. It's easier to direct. It travels a bit faster. And you can also detonate it pretty much instantly after you fire it now. Before there was a slight delay, but now it's pretty much instant. There you go. There has been one nerf that's been made to Sweet Tooth, and that is to his level 3. If we activate that now. So the one change that's been made here is that the duration has been cut down from 15 seconds to 13.5, which isn't a big deal, but perhaps an incentive to practice with it a bit more, as it's still kind of cumbersome and awkward, but potentially lucrative. Yes, so that just about covers Sweet Tooth, so now we're going to move on to Parappa. So sadly, the news here is not so good. There are 2 significant nerfs to Parappa that you need to be aware of. First of all, the neutral square to down and square combo, that one there, which is one of the building blocks that we discussed back in All-Star Guide number 2, that no longer chains into forward and square. So that was me pressing forward and square as fast as I could. Those moves no longer chain together. which renders a few of the combos that we went over in the guide completely useless. So now forward and circle is pretty much a vital component to any combo if you want to cross the AP threshold. So to make up for the 3 combos that you can't use now, here's a possible alternative. So that's forward and circle, forward and square, up and tap square, up and hold square, jump, neutral triangle. And that's fairly easy to pull off. Doesn't make use of the grapple, which can be tenuous sometimes. There we go. Okay, so the other big nerf is that the duration of Parappa's level 2, which we'll ready now, which, may I remind you, is his best super, has been cut down from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. Now, this is a slightly bigger deal than it was with Sweet Tooth, because of the speed at which Parappa moves when he's using his level 2. This is the kind of super where a single second can make a big difference. 3 kills are still very much possible. You'd rarely get 4 kills before, but that's pretty much impossible now. And positioning is obviously a bit more of a factor. You want to try and line up your opponents if you can, and not just activate the super in the middle of the level and chase everyone down. So, in short, Parappa's combo potential has been slightly reduced, but he's still a very accessible character with very easy burst combos. However, his supers were already weak before his level 2 was nerfed, so while he remains a blast to play as, I think when all is said and done, Parappa probably won't be in the top tier as I claimed in the original All-Star Guide. He's very much the quintessential novice character. Okay, so next we have Nathan Drake. Supers aside, I wasn't a big fan of Drake. I thought his moveset was impractical and his combos were relatively inaccessible. But I did like a couple of things about him, one of which was the barrel on neutral circle, you see here. Guess which move has been adjusted the most? Yep, neutral circle has seen various tweaks. They're mostly very subtle, but the ones you'll most likely notice straight away are its lifetime has been slightly reduced, and now if an opponent destroys or counters it, it will no longer explode. I'll see if I can show you that in action here. So if I kick the barrel towards Sly, and he destroys it there, you can see that the explosion effect did not occur. So if the enemy destroys the barrel before it hits them, they won't be ejected, which is fair, to be honest, I think. Other changes to Drake are, again, more subtle. The biggest one, besides the changes to neutral circle, is when you activate Drake's level 3, we'll get more people in here so I can show it off better. There we go. Oh. Yep, so, yes, when you activate Drake's level 3...
Alright, now it's Drake time.
Previously, Drake got a small head start before his opponents could move, but now everyone is controllable at the same time. So just using it as normal here. The effects of the level 3 have not changed otherwise, but I'll activate it again here in a sec. So if we trigger it again here, if you watch closely, you'll see that both Drake and the enemies will go through a small animation. Previously, Drake did not have that little animation at the beginning, and he got a head start ahead of his enemies. But now everyone is controllable at the same time.
Get ready to be rocked.
Yep, so that just about covers Drake, so let's move on to Fat Princess. So we have a couple of minor changes to Her Highness. She hasn't been severely improved or worsened. The first thing you'll notice now is that a single tap of neutral square now yields 5 AP with no effects. Previously this yielded 10 AP and would also butt drop the opponent. So this doesn't make a huge difference, but a couple of combos that we went through in the All-Star Guide, number 4, I believe, have been reduced by 5 AP. Not a huge deal, but something to bear in mind. More importantly, a change has been made to aerial forward and circle, which I believe to be one of Princess's best attacks. The difference here is that the warrior startup has been vastly increased. He now takes a lot longer to emerge. The attack is no longer as quick as it once was. You see, it takes quite a while to strike Evil Cole there. This actually has both pros and cons. As an individual move, this is obviously now a lot more difficult to surprise opponents with. Now they can see it coming and have more time to react to it. But on the upside, this actually makes the third combo we discussed in All-Star Guide number 4 a lot easier to pull off. Now you can start charging neutral square before the warrior connects, whereas before you had a much smaller window to make that attack. Let's see if we can pull it off here. There we go. So yeah, that's now slightly easier to pull off if you fancy using that combo. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this in the original guide, but aerial forward and circle has massive range. I mean, look how high Princess can jump, activate the attack, and still make it. That's pretty impressive. I don't think I noticed that before. The last big change has been made to her level 3. On reflection, I should have called out Fat Princess as level 3 as being the worst in the game. It technically has the potential to get more than 3 kills, but unlike the screen clears, which are guaranteed, you could also get less than 3, and you still don't have any control over it. Now, the patch notes say, that there are an increased number of fireballs and bombs that are deployed during the super now. But personally, I don't see it, and I don't see it making much of a difference. Let's just activate it here and I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, so the workers do emerge a little quicker, but on average you'll still get about 2 or 3, maybe 4 kills. So it's not incredibly impressive. Because this is the only super in the game that is dependent on other people's skill, and I personally don't like relying on that. So Princess is still very much like Parappa, accessible character for novices. Advanced players can still get some very good combos out of her, but her weak supers ultimately make her, at best, a mid-tier character. Moving on, we have Spike. Spike has seen numerous changes, some for the better, some for the worse, but ultimately he comes out a slightly nerfed character. Like Fat Princess, it would be a stretch to put him above mid-tier. A few changes have been made to some of his best individual moves, the most notable of which is to forward and square. This would previously eject any opponents in its path, and charging it would just increase the distance of that path. That's the attack charge there. That effect was previously the default effect when the move was uncharged as well. But now you have to charge it in order to eject the opponent as well. The default reaction when it's uncharged is now a butt drop, like so. So the AP yield hasn't changed. You'll still get 20 AP when it's uncharged, and 30 AP when it is. But despite the butt drop reaction, from what I can see, you can't cancel this move into a combo. I do kind of miss the ejection effect by default when it's uncharged, but I also have to admit it's probably a fair tweak. I often found myself spamming that move because it created so much havoc. Elsewhere, aerial down and triangle's AP yield has been reduced from 10 to 5, same as the ground version. So now there's a more even trade-off between the two moves. Aerial down and triangle has a shorter startup, but is slightly harder to aim. Mashing neutral circle has been increased by 5 AP, but it's still very much a slow situational move that I find hard to recommend. But I do have some good news. Spike's level 2, which is his best super, is now even better. It travels slightly faster. That's about it, but I take what I can get. So, yeah. Tad faster, for better or for worse. One final thing to note is that Spike's throws have been completely remapped. So whereas before I think up flattened the opponent and down butt dropped them or something really weird, something that wasn't in line with the other characters. Up on the right analog stick will now eject them. Forward will butt drop them. And down will flatten them, as is tradition. So that's better, necessary even, I don't know. So, yeah, not great overall for Spike, but at least he doesn't have it as bad as Parappa. surprisingly, Radic has made it through the patch almost completely unscathed. Literally, the only change that's been made to him is that his up and circle arc rifle now lasts slightly longer. I think it's been upped from 40 frames to 70, if you're one of those hardcore people who pays attention to frame counts. So I guess that's technically a net win. If you main Radic, you can refer to All-Star Guide number 6 as normal. Hooray! But unfortunately, I have saved the most depressing news for last. It seems almost cruel that just 1 week after I sang her praises, Noriko has been severely nerfed. Now, before I go any further, I should preface this by saying that I wasn't entirely happy with how All-Star Guide number 7 turned out. There were things that I thought I could have explained a little better, and some things that I just got plain wrong, so I'm going to take this opportunity to rectify that. First things first, I erroneously stated that neutral circle could be interrupted.
Now what?
After further testing with Noriko, I can confirm that that's not entirely true. Neutral circle can only be interrupted once the final hit has connected and the opponent has been stunned. So let's see if we can set that up here. Try that again. So you see there, Cole clearly struck me while I was using neutral circle, and again there, but it didn't register. So any attack that strikes before the stunning hit has connected will not register. But it will register during the cooldown, as is the case for most moves. Thank you, Cole. I also neglected to mention that you can combo out of the neutral triangle counterattack. So if we just ready that here. Try that again. So there we go. That was a little combo there using the neutral triangle parry. Attacks you can follow up with include down and square, down and triangle, and neutral circle. If we just try and time this again and not get hit. So, there we go. Speaking of follow-ups, you can technically proceed down and triangle with neutral circle, which opens up a lot more combo possibilities, but it requires such split-second timing that I decided to leave it out of the guide. I'll see if I can pull it off here. Down triangle. Nope. Yeah, let's see. That's the result you'll most often get. You'll make both hits, but they won't chain together. No, this isn't working. Damn it. Yeah, this isn't working. So, it is possible. I have done it before. I have gotten the two moves to chain together, but it's really finicky. If you guys find out some way of getting the timing down, please let me know. I would love to know. Anyway, what next? Yes, so the last rectification I want to make is something that I didn't realize until after I started editing the guide. I mentioned that neutral triangle could cancel the initial square attacks, like that. What I didn't know is that this was part of a grander mechanic, which is unique to Noriko. You may have noticed at various points in the guide, whenever Noriko used a certain square move, a gold ring would appear beneath her feet. Like that. Or like that. Whenever that appears, it indicates that move can be cancelled. Not just by the neutral triangle parry, but also by jumping, rolling by holding the left analog stick, or with the follow-up square combos, like that. So that's a system all in itself that allows you to be more evasive and strategic, and should give advanced players a bit more to work with. A little more depth is always good. But now we must discuss Noriko's post-patch state. First up, aerial down and triangle. This would previously reel opponents in, and then butt drop them back down to the ground. No matter if said opponent was on the ground or in the air. But now, while the butt drop effect is unchanged when the opponent is reeled in from the ground, like you just saw, if they're reeled in from the air, they will now be flattened. Like that. They'll be slammed down. which sucks, because that makes the third combo we discussed in ASG7 useless. And obviously nerfs Noriko's combo potential as well. So we would previously try and follow up down triangle with aerial down square. We can't do that anymore. Again though, I have an alternative for you to make up for it. Let's see if we can pull it off here. Okay, so that's aerial down square, up in triangle, jump, aerial up in triangle, neutral circle, aerial down in triangle. You can make that a burst combo by wedging neutral circle in between aerial down in square and up in triangle. Like so. Or you can leave it out, like I just did, and land next to the opponent when they wake up and follow up with more attacks. Elsewhere, one subtle tweak has been made to up and circle. If it's activated in the air, the animation would end prematurely if Noriko returned to the ground before it completed. Now, the whole animation will play out regardless. So you see there, Noriko completes her animation even when she touches the ground. The rest of Noriko's changes have been made to her supers. The cost of her level 2 has been reduced from 350 AP to 325. The fire limit has also been removed. Previously, I think you could fire 10 cannonballs before you used up the super, but now that's been removed. But to make up for it, the rate of fire has been decreased. That's me tapping square as fast as I can. Previously, that would fire cannonballs a lot faster. Not a huge loss, in my opinion. Also, if anyone happens to be standing next to the turret when it turns around, they'll be smacked away. Like that. But obviously, if they're standing next to the turret and it turns around, they'll be knocked away in a similar fashion. Which is an effect that was badly needed, in my opinion, so kudos. But now we come to the bugbear. Noriko's level 3 has not escaped the wrath of the patch. Only one change has been made, but it's a big one. I previously praised that the level 3 would not end until the animation for whatever attack Noriko was executing had finished, particularly Circle. Well, it seems that like the developers must have twigged this too, because now the super will end even if the animation for Circle is currently playing out. What does this mean? Well, it means that 9 kills just got a lot harder. Okay, so maybe that was an overwhelming number of possible kills to begin with, but it kind of puts a damper on the whole hullabaloo I made about it in the last guide. So you see, if we activate it at the last second here, it was interrupted. So that's, you know, a shame, but probably necessary. A necessary evil. To my knowledge, I think square will still play out at the very end of the super. Let's try it here. Yeah, so square and triangle will not be interrupted if the AP meter runs out. Circle, however, will. Don't get me wrong, Noriko is still a great character. The changes to her level 2 super in particular are welcome, and the level 3 is still incredibly dangerous. I'd still highly recommend Noriko to any intermediate players looking for a good all-round character. So there you have it, the winners and losers of Update 1.09. Next week's All-Star Guide will be fully up to date. Hopefully we won't get another patch this big towards the tail end of the series. So until next time, I've been Jack from the Beard Network, and thank you for tuning in to the All-Star Addendum. This really did not end up being a quick video.